How are we doing today, guys? It is Wednesday. We're back with another video on the Ultimate Rod series. I got Rob the Camera Guy's Schmedium shirt on, and we are ready to rock. So, I'm going to be honest with you. This technique we're going to talk about today, it was what I wanted to do for the first installment of this series, just because it is the #1 most requested technique of rod that we get here at the shop. It is a new technique. It is a somewhat controversial technique. It is a highly effective technique, and it is mid-strolling. So, forward-facing sonar, bass suspended, bass on stumps, all of these type of things are what we are looking at with the mid-strolling technique. And we're gonna go over what makes a good mid-strolling rod, what doesn't make a good mid-strolling rod, and we've got 4 options, 3 of our normal variety and then 1 bonus rod that we're gonna talk about today. And I really wanted to, and to get back to my original point, the reason that I didn't do this as the first installment is that I needed more time, and I needed more time to make sure that I had the most accurate rod models that I possibly could, and to be as educated on this as possible, because look, this is new. You know, it's not as new for people over in Japan, but for us over here, this is a fairly new presentation. So there are some really key things to look for, and we're gonna go over those right now. So key features on what we were looking for in a good mid-strolling rod. Ideal length, I think in the practical application of this presentation, is 6.5 to 7 foot. Are there guys that are having excellent results with 7'6" rods? Yes. Are there guys over in Japan that are throwing 6-foot rods? Yes. For our type of fishing over here, I think that a 6'6" to 7 foot is the ideal length range, leaving some variation for personal preference to come into play. So I think that's ideally what we're looking for. I think we're also looking for something in the medium light to medium range. Depending on manufacturer, that could feel slightly different. A light action could even come into play if it is on the stiffer side of the spectrum of a light. So we've kind of got the same characteristics regardless of what the model and what the power says. We want it to be very soft tip, transitioning to a fairly just rigid backbone. Don't want it to be stiff, but rigid. The key here with this presentation, typically you're holding your rod tip up, and I think one of the biggest pitfalls that anglers have is that they try to move the rod too much. You're not trying to manipulate the bait and cover water with it. You're trying to get it to roll and rock back and forth. So a lot of times that's just kind of quivering the tip, just barely shaking that bait. And that's where that really soft tip becomes the most important thing. So that is a non-negotiable. A soft tip is an absolute must. You really just need to be able to shake and kind of quiver that bait. And if you're using like an owner range roller head, which that's what you should be using, just to be clear, that's going to make that head really shake and really wobble. And again, it's less about moving the bait, closer or further away from the boat, and more about just creating that rolling action. Just want it to look very natural underwater. So we have kind of used that criteria to pick out some rods. We're going to go over them now. For those of you that are first-time watchers, we have 3 price points that we try to hit: under $150, under $300, and I don't care what it costs, just give me the best. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we threw in a bonus rod today just for fun, because why not? And I will also add, before I get started on the first model, that there are a ton of rods that will work for this presentation. And I will also add that as this becomes more and more popular and research and development teams catch up with current trends, there are sure to be more rods that are going to come out. And at some point we may do an updated version of this video, but I know of a couple for sure that are in the pipeline. And I think they're going to be pretty impressive, and they're going to be in the high-end world from one of the 4 manufacturers that we have here. So there's going to be a lot of new rods come out. So I think as of the filming of this video, which is June 17th, I think, you know, these are the best options out there, but that is subject to change. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Under $150. We've talked about this in other videos. Sometimes it gets hard in this cheaper price range to achieve the soft tip, crisp backbone. You know, that's kind of a common theme that we're looking for in several presentations. And there's just not many unique lengths and actions in these, you know, these under 150 price point rods. So I mentioned that there were a ton of options. There's fewer options in the under 150 class. So we settled on one that I think is a combination of everything we're looking for in a good mid-strolling rod, and it's this Dobyns Maverick MK 692 SF. So this is a 6'9", so length, check. It's a medium light, check. This is, I believe it's fast action, check. So we're good there. It's got a soft tip. It's got good backbone to it. It's light in weight, which I will speak to this. The balance is important. Now, when there is wind, you will have rod tip. You should be fishing rod tip down and trying to just work the bait like that, because the slack in your line is kind of a death sentence for this. So if there's a lot of wind, you'll be forced to push rod tip down, but ideally it's rod tip up. So having a nice balance point is preferred. Mandatory, no, but preferred, yes. And this Maverick, for a $99 rod, you won't find one that's as light or balanced as well as this, or if you do, you've really done something. So I'm a big fan of the Maverick series. We've talked about them in other videos. They do not sell near as well as the Furies do, and to me, I think they're an equally good, if not better, rod. So this one was kind of a no-brainer. It was the easiest choice among any of the rods sitting on this table. So it kind of hits, and at a $99 price point, I mean, it's just really, really tough to beat. So I think the Dobyns Maverick 692 SF, excellent choice. They also make this in a 7-foot version. If you prefer slightly longer rod, go for it, knock yourself out. No big deal there. So that is the under 150. Moving on, we are going to feature, and this brand has actually not been in one of the videos, so I'm excited about it. The next two brands haven't been in one of these videos, so I'm excited that we have the opportunity to feature some other brands. But we're going to pick one that is probably, as far spec-wise, is just perfect. And it's the Evergreen Combat Stick. It's the 6'10" medium light. And so this thing, I mean, it's an extra fast action, medium light power, 6'10". We're checking all the boxes here. Feels great in your hand. The butt section is the perfect length. So I want a shorter butt section here. I do not want a long butt. I want something that is, you know, easy to maneuver. So this would be one of those presentations where I don't really know that it can have too short of a butt. Like, I think it's kind of like the shorter the better. I mean, I don't want it to be a pistol grip, but beyond that, I like the shorter butt section. And this just hits every facet that I'm looking for. And it's, you know, is it under $300? Yeah, it's way under $300. It's $229.99. So sensitivity on this rod is good to very good. It's not going to blow you away, but it's certainly sufficient for this presentation. It's got a good soft tip, a good thin diameter, really narrow tip, and a good crisp backbone. And it's just a smooth transition from tip to butt. And that's kind of what you're looking for. I mean, it just really does everything we need it to do in a lightweight package with, you know, with a lure rating down to a 1/16 of an ounce. So if you get into any of that finessey stuff, I mean, it's going to be able to handle it. So I think this covers a bunch of boxes. It feels great in your hand. It's not crazy expensive, and it's just an all-around awesome mid-strolling rod. So that's what we've got for the under $300 price point. And yeah, really, really, really like this rod. The next one is actually a new series for this year. And this is going to be I don't care what it costs, just give me the best. And so I will add, there are several options here, just like in the under 300. I mean, we could have very easily featured the X-Pride, the 610 medium, you know, which is kind of their forward-facing rod. That's an awesome rod. It was a tough decision to go, you know, with this Evergreen over that X-Pride, but ultimately that's what we decided to do, because I do think this one has a slightly better action to it. But in this high-end series, there are so many. I mean, there's the Steez AGS, the Ned. I am not a fan of the Stinger tip. That is a bias personally, probably because I've worked here for way too long and I've seen how many of those Stinger tips break. So I hate to put it in a video and say it's the best. I just, you know, I've heard that they're having less issues, but I've seen too many of them. So I can't in good faith put that in here. But there are so many good rods. The Destroyer P5 Addermine, excellent option. Just plenty of great rods on the market is the point. But this one is the new St. Croix Physics, and it's the 610 medium light. And I will tell you, of any rod that you can pick up for a mid-strolling presentation, in my opinion, this is the only model that you pick up and you just go, whoa. It feels different and it fishes different. The balance is absurd on these. I mean, it feels like the tip is lifting itself. It is actually probably slightly out of whack balance-wise, but I don't really care. It feels so good in hand. And I am a big fan of this grip. It's almost, I hesitate to call it tacky because I do not want you to take that in a negative way, but it is almost tacky, and that is meant as a good thing, that it's just very grippy. And I like the way that, you know, once you mount a reel to this, it's a very comfortable reel seat. Butt section is excellent length. They have this knob here they say, you know, to kind of help line up your cast. I don't really understand that, but regardless, this rod has the perfect action. 610 medium light. You're sensing a theme here. Love that. Very, very soft tip. Very soft tip. So you're going to be able to really quiver that bait, keep it in the same spot, not move it out of the fish's face, and just drive them wild with it, which I'm a big fan of. Plenty of backbone. If I had one critique for this exact presentation, not for the rod itself, but for this presentation, this rod may have a touch too much backbone, but it's splitting hairs and it's almost perfect. And obviously it wasn't enough that we decided not to select it for the best forward-facing rod for mid-strolling we've got. So I'm talking very, very minor, minor preference there. But everything else about this rod is exactly what you want in a mid-strolling, at least exactly what I want in a mid-strolling rod. So it checks every box. It does everything we need it to. The tip is just perfect on this. It is absolutely money. So these new physics rods are really cool. They haven't taken off like we thought they would so far, but I think people are going to catch on because, in my opinion, it's the coolest rod St. Croix has come out with in years and years. They're really, really nice. So, yeah, check these physics rods out, especially this 6'10" medium light is excellent. Okay, so there's still one rod on the table. I'm going to go ahead and give it a feature because it's a new model, it's a new GLX, and I think it deserves to be talked about a little bit. Now, in full disclosure, I have not thrown this rod, so I cannot say that this is the best forward-facing mid-strolling rod we've got, or anywhere, or I can't properly rank it, I should say. But I felt like it at least deserved to be mentioned because it feels like everything that we have talked about in all of these other models. And so it's the GLX, and again, this is a new model in the bass lineup at least. It's an 841S SJR. So this is a 7 foot, so it's on the higher end of what I would call the optimal spectrum, but it's still 7 foot. That's good. That's great, what we're looking for. Medium light, fast action, okay? Same, I mean, it's the same as pretty much every other rod on this table here. The tip is uniquely soft on this rod. So it is, you know, as far as just softness of tip, if I were to score that on all four of these models, I think this would win as far as just how soft but yet responsive this tip is. So I think this rod is going to make a really, really kick-ass mid-strolling rod, but I haven't fished it yet, so I can't say that for sure. Backbone seems to be on point. It's a GLX, so you know the sensitivity is really, really good. Butt section is a good length. It's maybe a touch longer than I would really want it to be, but it's still a good length. And it really feels like it's got everything I need to be able to fish that mid-strolling technique in an ideal way and make some bass bite. Now, I just wish we had more bass here in southern Indiana to make bite, but we're working on that. That's what Kentucky Lake's for, so we get to go down there and play every now and again. Anyway, here's what we've got, mid-strolling. Tell us what you think. Where did we go wrong? Where did we go right? This is an interesting one. Very interesting. forward facing, taking over. How about if you need a Livescope, how about you let us know, because we've got those. And we've got all these rods, and we've got a button below to click so you can subscribe and watch all of these videos. And yeah, next time I'll bring my own shirts and not wear Rob the Camera Guy's mediums, and we're gonna keep knocking these videos out. I appreciate you guys watching very much. We're having fun with this. We're gonna keep kicking them out. We're gonna keep doing more videos, content, learning. What else should we do? Tell us, let us know. We wanna hear from you. Blow these comments up. Let's get 100 comments. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.